Hello and welcome. This is Wilrens for Create the Learning Site, the place to go deeper in your understanding of the Bible. This is a continuation of the first part of this two-part series on the unity and structure of Isaiah. Next, we return to Judah and Jerusalem. What follows, beginning in chapter 28, is a series of woes, here usually translated with but essentially the same Hebrew word. Each chapter, almost, begins with this, and all the woes are directed against Jerusalem, except for the last one, which is directed against the destroyer, which in context is Assyria. Now the nature of the text changes as well. Beyond the clear marker of the woe, the at the beginning, it becomes harder to distinguish individual oracles. The text is more unified and cohesive. Several themes are woven together. In this, the text resembles a symphony, repeating and developing a limited set of themes. Chapter 40 and following will display this characteristic even more strongly. Most of this material dates from the reign of Hezekiah, and the main repeated themes are: first, the announcement that the Assyrians are coming. This refers to Sennacherib's invasion in 701. Then the warning not to rely on Egypt or an alliance with other nations, which is precisely what Judah was doing at this time. And then the promise that God himself will save Jerusalem from the Assyrians. In the promise of deliverance and the description of the aftermath of the invasion, Isaiah at times goes well beyond what happened historically. Hezekiah and Hezekiah's days were good, but were they truly this good? Again, we may be looking at foreshortening. Isaiah connects the rescue of his own day with the greater salvation and the greater King of righteousness that would come much later. Isaiah 34 and Isaiah 35 are quite distinct. They do something like Isaiah 24 through 27 in the previous section. They provide a larger and generalized picture that builds on the preceding chapters, but looks at the more distant and ultimate victory and salvation. The two chapters stand in contrast to each other. Edom will become a desert wasteland. The desert will become a fruitful land. Isaiah 34 and 35 also prepare the ground for the second half of Isaiah. They contain many themes that will recur. Isaiah 35 is the gospel in pictures. It reads like a summary or sample of much of what is to follow in the remainder of the book. This is well constructed indeed. Before moving forward, Isaiah pauses for a section of historical narrative. It recounts the invasion by Sennacherib and the illness and healing of Hezekiah around that time. This led to a visit from faraway Babylon described in chapter 39. These chapters document the fulfillment of Isaiah's prophecies. They also expose the contrast with Hezekiah's father Ahaz in chapter 7. The situations are quite parallel. Both faced a military threat and received a message from God, but the response could not have been more different. Isaiah 39 makes clear, however, that Hezekiah too falls short. He is faithful, but not faithful enough to secure lasting salvation for his people. Exile is unavoidable as a necessary step toward the greater salvation. With this, And by ending with Babylon, Isaiah 39 prepares the ground and builds a bridge to the second half of Isaiah, where Israel indeed finds itself in the Babylonian captivity, yearning for deliverance. And so we come to the second half of the book. It opens with a change in audience. In view are not the people of Judah and Jerusalem in the days of Isaiah, but the people of Israel in exile, about a century and a half later. The tone has changed as well, comfort instead of confrontation. However, toward the end, there will be an increasingly urgent warning, and with it an appeal, mostly implicit, to repent. As in Isaiah chapter 1, the line between the saved and the judged does not simply divide the Israelites from the Gentiles. It runs right through the people of Israel as well. As mentioned when discussing Isaiah 28 through 35, these chapters read much like a symphony. Individual oracles are often impossible to discern. Instead, we are reading a continuous presentation, perhaps a carefully composed literary work rather than a collection of spoken messages. It presents us with a breathtaking panorama of everything that God still intends to do, the return from exile and beyond, stretching all the way into the new heavens and the new earth, the only place in the Old Testament where this phrase is used. We should therefore recognize that there is substantial foreshortening of time in these chapters. For long stretches, it reads as if everything happens in rapid succession, as if Cyrus and the servant are contemporaries, ushering in the glorious future. However, there are indications of a process as well. Especially Isaiah 63 to 66 address frustration and doubt caused by a perceived delay and God's apparent passivity. It will take a very long time, we know now, for all of this to come to pass. In what follows, I will divide this part of the book into three sections, 40 to 48, 59 to 57, and 58 until 66. It's not uncommon to recognize some sort of break at Isaiah 49 verse 1, but it is unusual to divide the book at 58 verse 1. As we have seen, modern scholarship sees the main division at Isaiah 56 verse 1, supposed to be the beginning of 3rd Isaiah and perhaps a post-exilic setting, even though much of Isaiah 56 and 57 would fit a pre-exilic audience as well. My reasons to depart from this near consensus are the following. There are connections between Isaiah 56 and the preceding chapters that are quite strong. The repeated phrase, a structural marker, at the end of Isaiah 48 and at the end of Isaiah 57 indicates that here something comes to an end. The phrase is, "There is no peace for the wicked." It's missing at the end of Isaiah 66, the end of the book, but a similar idea appears there in reference to those who rebelled against God. Their worm shall not die, their fire shall not be quenched. The unique emphasis, thematic emphasis in each section also suggests this division, as will be described in the continuation of this. So Isaiah 40 through 48, here we meet God the Creator, the only God who controls all things. Babylon appears, referred to by name 4 times, not again after chapter 48. Isaiah ridicules the idols. They cannot do anything. The term idol is used 6 times here, but only once in the remaining chapters, 66 verse 3. There's a lawsuit going on. First in Isaiah 41 verse 1, and more clearly at the end of that chapter, God takes the nations and these idols to court. At stake is who truly is God. The summons also appears in a few more places, the last time in chapter 48, and then not again. The question, the issue at stake, will be decided based on an ability to accurately foretell the future. This element as well does not reappear after chapter 48. And then there is Cyrus. God shows his superiority to the idols by announcing who will deal with Babylon and rebuild Jerusalem and its temple. He even identifies this person by name. It is Cyrus. His last appearance is also in chapter 48. The overall topic of this first section is deliverance from Babylon and exile. In the next section, this will shift to the salvation and restoration of Zion. Isaiah 49 through 57. From here on, there is no more Babylon. Another woman takes central stage, Zion, personified as a wife and mother bereft of children. And there is the servant. Instead of Cyrus, we read of this somewhat enigmatic figure. He's anonymous, no name. And whereas Cyrus is to be miraculously successful, this person looks like an abysmal failure. He is repulsive. The servant does make his first appearance in the previous section, Isaiah chapter 42, but now he dominates the text. At first glance, the three servant passages, or servant songs as they are often called, show little connection to the surrounding text. They are not obviously integrated, which is why they have sometimes been treated as separate, semi-independent songs. However, without the servant, there is no agent who will bring God's salvation about. He is essential. No servant, no salvation. We are to understand that everything that follows a particular servant passage, all the restoration and blessing, is the result of what the servant has accomplished. Now, again, I include Isaiah 56 and 57 in this section because of the phrase at the end of chapter 57, no peace for the wicked. In addition, several key terms and ideas connect Isaiah 56 with the preceding chapters. There's everlasting, there's name, there's sign or monument, and there's God's salvation and righteousness, a repeated phrase in the preceding chapters. In addition, Isaiah 58 is much more of a discontinuity, a textual leap, a fresh beginning, than is Isaiah 56, because it assumes and builds on what precedes it. It does not stand on its own as a fresh beginning. It is a call to respond. The reason for the appeal is clearly stated right in verse 1. For soon my salvation will come and my righteousness will be revealed. The very subject and a repeated phrase of the preceding chapters. It looks like an application of the announcement that has gone before. It is a conclusion, not an opening. We come to the final section, chapter 58 through 66. It includes the climax of the prophetic promise in this book in chapters 60, 61, and 62, but it also emphasizes the importance of righteousness. Without it, individuals will not share in the glorious future. There is an interchange here between the two themes of future blessing and judgment. There also appears to be a chiasm in this section. We have in chapter 58 and 59 a community fast and God's response. We end with a community prayer and God's response in the final 4 chapters. Then we have a description of the divine warrior putting on his armor and going out for battle, and in the beginning of chapter 63 a description of the divine warrior returning from battle. And at the center of all of this we have this climactic description of the coming glory of Zion. The concluding prayer in Isaiah 63 and following is comparable to the songs we found in Isaiah 12 and 26. These are words put into the mouth of a future generation of God's people, responding to God. And again, there is an awareness that fulfillment is not immediate, despite the ultra-swift movement in the preceding chapters. The threefold structure of Isaiah 40 to 66 thus ends up displaying a surprising pattern. In 40 to 48 we have God, who is the creator and also initiates salvation. In chapters 49 through 57 we have the servant, the agent, making salvation reality. The New Testament understands this to be Jesus the Son. And in chapters 58 through 66, although it's a bit less clear, there is a certain emphasis on the Spirit of God. He is the one who turns God's people from rebellion and leads them to glory. Thus, Isaiah presents nothing less than the gospel in advance, announcing the good news. Literally, in Isaiah 40, verse 9, where this term appears, and a few other places in these chapters, God, the Creator, initiates salvation, the servant will secure it, and the Spirit will bring it to completion. At the end of the book of Isaiah, we are ready for Christmas to come and salvation to begin. Okay, sort of as an appendix to this video, here is the structure of the book as I've tried to explain it. I'll leave this on for a minute in case you want to review it, but basically the video is ended here. And in case you are watching this in December, Merry Christmas.
The show will be starting in just a few moments. Thank you.